A long time ago, Gautam Buddha and his disciples were traveling through a dense forest. It was a peaceful journey, filled with the soothing sounds of nature. The group was heading towards the next village, where they planned to rest and spread the Buddha's teachings. But then they came upon a challenge. Before them was a wide river, its waters rushing powerfully. It was clear that crossing this river would not be easy. As the disciples prepared themselves, they noticed a young woman standing on the riverbank. She seemed anxious, pacing back and forth. Her face carried a look of desperation. The Buddha, always observant and compassionate, approached her. With his calm voice, he asked, "My child, why are you distressed?" The woman, startled but relieved to see someone so serene, quickly explained her plight. "My mother is gravely ill. She's on the other side of this river, and I need to get to her. But the current is too strong, and I don't know how to swim." The disciples exchanged uncertain glances. As monks, they had taken vows of celibacy and non-attachment, including strict rules about avoiding physical contact with women. But the Buddha's heart was focused on her suffering, not on rules or restrictions. Without hesitation, he turned to one of his disciples and said, "Help her." The disciple was stunned. Help her, carry her. His mind raced with doubts and concerns. This was against their vows, wasn't it? Yet he could not question his teacher. Reluctantly, he stepped forward, lifted the woman carefully, and carried her across the river. The water was cold and the current strong, but he managed to set her down safely on the other side. "Thank you, kind monk. May you be blessed," woman said. The disciple nodded silently and rejoined the group, but something was wrong. Hours passed as they continued their journey, and the disciple's mind grew restless. He couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. His heart was filled with frustration and confusion. Finally, unable to hold it in any longer, disciple turned to the Buddha and said, "Master, I don't understand. We are monks. We've taken vows not to touch women, yet you told me to carry her. Wasn't that against our teachings?" The Buddha, as always, answered with wisdom that struck deeper than the surface. "My dear son, I asked you to carry her across the river and leave her there, but it seems you've been carrying her in your mind ever since. Let her go." In that moment, the disciple understood. The true burden was not in the act of helping the woman. It was in his unwillingness to let go of the thoughts, the judgments, and the inner turmoil. The Buddha's lesson wasn't just about that moment at the river. It was a profound reminder for all of us. We often carry things long after they've happened. Grudges, regrets, fears. But these burdens don't serve us. They only weigh us down. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself from the chains of the past so you can walk forward with peace in your heart. Let go of what no longer serves you. Peace lies in the present moment. This lesson is profound, but what if our desires feel overwhelming, consuming our every thought? To explore this further, let's dive into our second story. One serene evening, the Buddha sat beneath the majestic Bodhi tree, meditating in silence. His mind was fixed on enlightenment, a state of liberation and truth. The night was still, the world quiet, but from the shadows, Mara, the demon of desire and illusion, observed him closely. Mara was the master of distraction, the embodiment of all that binds humans to suffering. To see someone on the brink of breaking free from his grip was intolerable. Determined to stop the Buddha, Mara whispered, "Let us see how strong this resolve truly is." With a wave of his hand, Mara conjured visions of immense wealth. Before the meditating Buddha, mountains of gold, dazzling jewels, and treasures of unimaginable beauty appeared. The air shimmered with the promise of luxury and abundance. "Look at these riches, Siddhartha," Mara taunted. "All this can be yours. Imagine the pleasures, the comfort, the power you could wield with such wealth." But the Buddha didn't stir. His focus remained unbroken. Mara frowned, but wasn't ready to give up. With another gesture, he summoned illusions of kingdoms and power. Grand palaces rose before the Buddha. Armies marched in unison, and thrones of gold gleamed under an unseen light. "You could be a king," Mara declared, his voice thunderous. "Ruler of all. Command the world at your feet. Why waste your life meditating when you can seize such power. Yet Buddha's expression didn't change. To him, these grand displays were no more than passing clouds. Frustrated but not defeated, Mara summoned his most potent weapon, desire. From the shadows, the most enchanting women appeared. Their beauty was unparalleled, their every movement graceful, their laughter soft and alluring. They danced around the Buddha, weaving a spell of seduction. Surely, Mara sneered, even you cannot resist this. Are you not human? Does your heart not stir? Does your mind not falter at the sight of such beauty? The women's laughter echoed, but the Buddha sat still, his mind steady like a calm lake. His silence unnerved Mara, who stepped forward in anger. Why do you not react? Mara demanded. Are you not like other men? Finally, the Buddha opened his eyes and looked at Mara, not with anger, but with deep compassion. His voice was calm, yet it carried a power that pierced the illusion. Mara, he said, your temptations are like the leaves of this tree. They may be many, but they have no roots. They cannot endure. They wither and fall. My mind is like the roots of this tree, grounded, firm, and unshakable. No storm of desire can uproot it. Mara froze, his illusions crumbling like dust. The treasures disappeared, the kingdoms faded into nothingness, and the women dissolved into shadows. Defeated, Mara retreated into the darkness. That night, the Buddha's unwavering focus led him to enlightenment, a state of perfect wisdom beyond the reach of desire or illusion. The story of Mara reminds us that temptations are powerful only if we allow them to control us. Desires are illusions, like shadows. They appear strong but lack substance. Buddha teaches us that by grounding ourselves in mindfulness, we can see through these illusions and overcome them. When faced with distractions in life, ask yourself, are they truly worth your peace? Like the Buddha, you too can stay rooted, unshaken by the fleeting storms of desire. So how can we ground ourselves like Buddha? To understand this, let's hear our third story, which reveals the power of mindfulness and perspective in overcoming desire. In a grand palace surrounded by opulence, a young king sat restless. Though he had everything, wealth, power, and luxuries beyond imagination, still his heart was troubled. He felt trapped by his own desires, unable to find peace. One day, he decided to seek help. The king approached the Buddha, who was known for his wisdom and calm. Bowing deeply, he said, "Master, I have everything the world can offer, yet my heart is restless. Lust and desires consume my thoughts. I feel like a prisoner of my own mind. Please show me the way to peace." The Buddha, listening calmly, smiled and said, "I will help you, but first I have a task for you." From beside him, the Buddha picked up a small bowl filled to the brim with oil. Handing it to the king, he said, "Take this bowl and walk through the bustling streets of the city. Your task is to return without spilling a single drop of oil. If you succeed, I will show you the path to peace." The king, though puzzled, accepted the challenge. He took the bowl in his hands and began his journey through the lively streets. The city was alive with activity. Merchants called out to customers, children laughed and played, musicians filled the air with their melodies, and dancers entertained the crowds with their grace. People greeted their king as he passed, but the young ruler noticed none of it. His eyes were fixed on the bowl. Every step he took was careful and deliberate, his mind focused entirely on balancing the oil. The weight of the task consumed his attention, leaving no space for distraction. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the king returned to the Buddha. His face was filled with relief as he handed the bowl back. Not a single drop of oil spilled. The Buddha looked at him and asked, "Tell me, did you notice the beautiful women dancing in the streets? Did you hear the music and the laughter? Did you see the merchants and their wares?" The king frowned, shaking his head. "No, master. I was so focused on the bowl that I noticed nothing else." The Buddha smiled knowingly. "And that, my child, is your answer. When your mind is fully focused on something higher, your purpose, your path, desires lose their power. They cannot distract you because your attention is elsewhere. Just as you ignored the noise of the streets, you can rise above the noise of your desires by directing your mind to something meaningful." The king's eyes lit up with understanding. For For the first time, he saw the way forward. He realized that the key to inner peace was not to fight his desires directly, but to focus his mind on a higher purpose, leaving no room for distractions to take root. Thank you for watching. If you found value in these teachings, please subscribe for more wisdom. Until next time, stay mindful and seek peace.